Hello, Night Nation. I'm Trylko from the Sons of UCF, joined by Eric Lopez of the Black and Gold Banneret. Welcome to Around the Kingdom. Elo, hello.
Hello, Trace. Coming up on the fastest UCF show around. It's Big 12. The season's here, finally. UCF in Fort Worth against TCU. We'll give you a breakdown. What is the outlook of the Big 12? And UCF on Fox late Saturday night. Are you going to be tuned in? Who is going to be tuned in? We'll debate. Me and Trace will debate that and much more. Coming up on the fastest UCF show around the kingdom.
Before we get going with all of that, Elo, let us welcome in the third member of our team. He is Adam Eaton from the Sons of UCF. Keeps an eye on the clock, keeps us on our toes. Adam, hello.
Gents, greetings just like the Knights. I'm on the road this week. Hopefully both of us get to go 1-0.
There we go. Thank you, Adam. Check back with you soon. Elo, 2 up, 2 down. Knights improved to 2-0, defeat Sam Houston 45-14. Reaction.
We won. It was nice. It was great. And I'm glad we've got those 2 games on the back burner. Wow, because we really didn't learn much. Except, hey, we can run the football, Trace. I don't know if you heard. We got some good running backs, and boy, are they running. Especially R.J. Harvey, 4 touchdowns, tying a school record in a single game against Sam Houston. What we do know is this, Trace. The identity of this team offensively is they're gonna run the football at you, and you're going to have to stop them to beat them. I mean, that is the one thing I will say through 2 games. We know this identity of this team.
So that's what the biggest thing is that you've taken away. Do you still think of them as just glorified exhibitions
absolutely.
That they didn't prove a lot? Because I think they were able to work through some issues during those games.
I believe that New Hampshire and Sam Houston were so bad in the line of scrimmage that Adam Eaton could have ran for 100 yards if you put him in there in the fourth quarter. I really do. With all due respect to all the UCF talented running backs, I think you could have run in for a couple first downs. I don't think we know. We're going to find out this Saturday. In my opinion, the season starts this Saturday, Trace. And look, they worked on some things. You feel that, hey, you work on those things. We're going to find out if that works. TCU played at Stanford on the road, was down 17, came back to win their game. We're going to see which theory works out better. Getting 2 exhibition games out of the way or testing yourself on the road like TCU did. That's one of the, I think, to me, what will be interesting. But I think the running game is strong, and I think KJ looked pretty good. And I think the defense has forced some turnovers, which I know is something you've been calling for.
Yeah, and they scored points off those turnovers, which I think is important, right? So we do know some things. We don't know everything. And I agree with you, though, that the real season starts in primetime on Saturday in Fort Worth, Texas. Should be a good one. Both teams similar in wanting to prove something as the Big 12 schedule kicks off, Elo.
No doubt about it. Of course, all eyes on KJ Jefferson, who bounced back. Those of you who wrote a column saying he's going to be a difference maker, oh, you can relax. That's me. At least for 1 week. He was fantastic. 92 was his PFF grade, Mr. Trylko. Are you feeling better? Are we good now with KJ? Are you still holding your breath?
I wasn't in as much despair after the first game as a lot of the fan base. But you know what? They didn't pluck him out of free agency to beat Sam Houston. They plucked him out of free agency. They inked him to a deal to beat teams like TCU on the road. So as we just said, the real season begins, and it begins for KJ Jefferson. My question for you, we were talking pre-show, the name Kyle Israel came up as we were doing a little reminiscing. Is he a game manager? Is that what KJ Jefferson is going to be? I mean, not many pass attempts through 2 games, hasn't had to. Do you count on him? Can you count on him when a pass is needed, especially Saturday?
If teams cannot stop UCF's running game, then he doesn't have to be more than a game manager. I don't think you have to force the throw if you don't have to. That being said, you brought him in to win games on the road, which is what you've struggled in UCF, right? That's been the best. Can this team win on the road? You've got a guy here that's played in tougher. I don't care. Pick whatever Big 12 environment you're this year, Trace. None of them are as difficult of any of the SEC places that KJ Jefferson has played. To me, that's why you bring him in, is to help you win road games where you may have to make some big plays, some big throws, and some big runs. He can run, and he's a big boy to have a hard time to take down. I think that's why you bring him in, and it starts this Saturday against TCU.
Yeah, you talked about the running game. He can run too, and he picked up quite a few yards. So you know that he can do that when needed. You just know, though, that if the running game gets bogged down at some point, you're still going to have to throw the ball. I think we saw a little bit more of that in week 2, but we're going to need to see more on the road. But to your point, if they can run through TCU, then maybe you can get away with 15 passes.
You don't have to do it. One of the reasons why Kyle Israel had the greatest running back in Kevin Smith. Just hand it off to him. That's the deal.
Well, good segue. RJ Heisman, Elo, 4 touchdowns on the night against Sam Houston, off to a great start. Is he? I phrased it initially, and you kind of said, let's change the question. I phrased it, is he the best running back of the Gus Malzahn era? You said, is he the best player of the Gus Malzahn era?
I do think he's the best running back. Let's just get that out of the way. That's why I wanted to change it. I see right here, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching, this is my notes here. This is what I do. Prepare for Around the Kingdom exclusively. My notes on this show. Nowhere else. I have him already as my top 10. He's in the top 10 all-time UCF running back list already. Right now, today. If he ended today. I think he is the best pound-for-pound player in the Gus Malzahn here at UCF. He is the face of this program right now. He is the fan favorite. And he is the first running back, Trace, and I don't know if you agree with this, since Kevin Smith, that when he gets the ball, you have anticipation. You get a little, ooh, this could be exciting. This could be, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was the thing that made Kevin so awesome. We had Latavius Murray. We've had Adrian Killings. You could argue Killings was that. But as far as just handing it off to him, not talking about quick passes, punt returns, he is amazing. And he can take over a game and break runs. I think he is the best player in the Gus Malzahn era.
Yeah, burst of speed. He can pound the ball. He's what Gus Malzahn wanted from Isaiah Bowser, but obviously he's more talented than Isaiah Bowser and pounding across the line. You mentioned top 10 running back, which I agree. Where do you Mount Rushmore of running backs? He's going to be in your top 100 when you do a revised list, right?
He'll definitely be on the top 100. So here's my Mount Rush. Here's my list. Kevin Smith, tier 1, Mount Rushmore. Lock. I think he's the best ever. I think Latavius Murray has to be on there because he's had a great NFL career. I think he's a Hall of Famer as well, UCF. Good career. It's not his fault that George O'Leary didn't know how to use him. Marquette Smith, huge impact as a transfer to Florida State. I think has to be up there in that conversation. Alex Haynes was fantastic. Got kind of overlooked because of the bad teams around him. Adrian Killings, the late, great Otis Anderson. I think Harvey's in that top 6, top 7 range. I really do.
With a lot of games to play to boost his standing and his stats.
No doubt about that. He is a guy that when he goes like a rocket. Fortunately, if you're a fan of Elton John's Rocket Man, you know there's no more Rocket Man Trace in the third quarter. What? What happened?
You killed it. You were against it last week.
What did they play instead?
I will tell you that I don't notice this as much as the fans in the stands because we're behind that glass.
What kind of journalist are you here? Where's Trylko?
Also,
Can we get Andrew Trylko here? Get Andrew on this.
What I like is how you say his name different every time you mention it.
I think he prefers.
I must say I didn't pay as much attention, but we were sort of mixed on Rocket Man anyway, right?
Yeah.
Thunderstruck, wasn't that it? Thunderstruck? That was what was played?
I mean, I wasn't there. You were there. I will take your word for it. So is this going to be the new game? We play a random music song every third quarter, every home game? Maybe that's the new thing we do.
Hey, in a 1-minute segment on Around the Kingdom.
What song would you pick, Trace, if you had a choice? What song are you picking?
I don't know. I'm not good at this. I'm not good at this on the spot with music. So I'll have to think about that. And hopefully that won't be part of this week's summer game. Let's get back to the road clash, primetime, Saturday, Fort Worth. Similar teams, I think, kind of middle of the pack kind of teams, both wanting to start off 1-0 in the Big 12. It's an interesting contest. It's a close line in this game. I've seen it move around a little bit. UCF was an initial dog by a couple of points, tightened up a little bit. Very interesting matchup for UCF in its first road game of the year.
Two similar programs, right? TCU. Which TCU team we're getting this year? Are we getting the team that 2 years ago somehow played for the national championship game? It happened, folks. Or is it the team from last year that went 5-7 with Sonny Dykes? A lot of familiarities on both of these coaching staffs. Sonny Dykes, of course, was at SMU, coached against UCF many a times. The offensive coordinator, Kendall Briles, was the coordinator, or KJ Jefferson at Arkansas. The defensive coordinator for TCU was the Boise State head coach that UCF has played the last couple of years, was also the D coordinator at Oregon when Gus and Auburn played him in it. So there's a lot of familiarity here, Trace, which seems to suggest this could be a close game, sold out in Fort Worth, Texas this Saturday for
a blackout. A blackout in.
Does that mean they wear
Worth.
black? The team will wear black?
Yes.
I don't know how that works anymore. Of course, Fort Worth, Texas, folks, not a bad road trip there. Of course, Trace, you will be heading out there, traveling there. I don't know. Is this your first time, or you've been there before? I'm sure.
No, I've been
that area.
there a couple of months ago.
So the question is that I have: is this the destination trip for UCF fans? Not only just this year in the Big 12, but maybe while we are in the Big 12, going to Fort Worth.
I think it's an easy trip, right? Multiple airlines fly there, quick flight for most fans across the country. Dallas, a lot to do. I would say it's certainly more favorable than Iowa State and West Virginia on the calendar. But I know there are a lot of people also looking forward to Arizona State because there's plenty to do in Arizona, golfing and the like. So I think because it's early on in the season, when there's a great deal of anticipation in the year, I think it is the road trip, not counting Gainesville with the ease and the interest in the Gators, a Big 12 trip that fans are most interested in.
You mean they're not interested in Ames, Iowa, Morgantown, West Virginia, Country Road? No, look, Fort Worth is great. Dallas area, there's so many things to do there. Most importantly, Robert lives there, right?
Two letters, 2 words.
Would he pick me up if I went? Not this year. I'm not going this year, folks. But if I go in the future, we need to negotiate that. That should be part of my deal.
Uber. That's all what I call it.
If I renew my deal to continue around the kingdom, that needs to be part of the new deal, guys.
Okay. Well, let's bring in the guy that's in charge of those decisions. He is Adam Eaton. Back with our silly game, man. A touch on contract negotiations.
Trace, a quick correction. Robert does not do Uber, he does taxis. You and I both know this. But before we get to the silly game, let's make sure we talk about our good friends at the Cure Bowl, December 20th, Campbell Road Stadium, downtown Orlando. A fantastic college football matchup, and it's one of the best bowls out there. And here's the best part about it for all of us. The matchup is always Orlando versus Cancer. Make sure you get out there, enjoy the game. Also help a great cause. Go to curebowl.org if you want to get your tickets. All right, gentlemen. My favorite game, you're both least favorite games. And we've doing the show long enough now that we can just sort of recycle some bits. I'm proud to tell you this year, we're back to who he played for. I have some UCF Knights and the current NFL teams that they are on. These are both active rosters and practice squads. I'm going to start with Elo. I will give you a name. Elo, you get a chance to tell me who he played for. If you get it wrong, Trace, you get a chance to steal. You get 1 point for the correct answer. You get a half point for the steal. All right. So that's how this game is going to work. Elo, I did a drawing here in my hotel room. Trust me, I did. And here's what I got for you, Elo. Alex Ward, who he played for.
Oh, good question. Man, I should have known this after week 1 of the NFL. Cleveland Browns?
That's incorrect. Trace, can you steal this?
Trace is ready.
Rams.
That is correct. 1.5 point for Trace Trylko. All right, Trace, this one's for you. Matt Prater, who he played for.
Oh, man. Arizona.
That is correct.
Oh.
Trace Trylko with a big one there. All right, Elo, you're going to need this one badly at this point. Mike Hughes, who he played for. Mike Hughes, former UCF cornerback.
It was just oh man.
I know.
Mr. NFL here, all this. Mike Hughes. Because he's been bounced around, man. Ooh. It's been rough for him since Gabe Davis burned him for like 4 touchdowns in that playoff game, Mike Hughes. Ravens?
Is incorrect. Trace, can you steal?
Atlanta.
That is correct.
Wow, Trace, Mr. NFL.
Wow.
I spent 3 hours watching the Steelers and the Falcons. So
you earned this victory.
Trace, next one for you. Shaquille Griffin, who he played for. Shaquille Griffin.
Carolina.
Incorrect. Elo, can you steal?
Vikings?
That is correct. Elo with a steal. Ooh. Good for you. All right. Elo, this should be an easy one. Charlie Hewlett, Who does Charlie Hewlett play for?
Cleveland Browns.
That is correct. No need to steal there. All right. Let's see here. Trace, you are currently winning 2-1.5. All right. Last question. You need to get this correct, or else you are in big trouble,
Gabe Davis, Jacksonville Jaguars. All right, let's move on to the next one.
Devad Wilson. Who he played for? Devad
man.
Wilson.
Oh, man. Devad Wilson. I don't know Devad Wilson. Tennessee.
Incorrect. Elo, can you steal and tie?
You got 29 other guesses.
Devad Wilson. Ooh.
We don't know Devad Wilson. We are not the Devad Wilson fan club.
Practice squad guys. Eagles?
That is incorrect. Unfortunately, he plays for the Arizona Cardinals, which means Trace Trylko is your who he played for champion with a score of 2-1.5. Both of you two, pathetic.
Thank you, Adam. All right. Names maybe we're a little more familiar with, Elo. Tuesday, the 2024 Hall of Fame inductees in the UCF class announced. It's a who's who. Chris Duffy from baseball, Mark Giacone from football, Shaquem Griffin from football, Ashley Holder women's golf, Anne-Marie Blaney track and field, and Kirk Spearrock, longtime men's basketball coach. You have written about this class. Pretty good class.
Strong class. Shaquem Griffin, we've talked about it, speaks for itself. I mean, just one of the Mount Rushmores of UCF football, a great, really, spokesman for the program. Kirk Spearrock, awesome. I mean, I love the video there. Mark Daniels is calling him from the arena. Kirk gets teared up as he gets the word from Mark. I mean, that's anybody that's been a UCF basketball fan. Think about this. He took over a basketball program that might have been the worst college basketball Division I program at the time that he took over that program. Trace, you know that as well as I do. Super happy for him to get it. Chris Duffy, Golden Spikes finalist, maybe the best year any baseball players had, one of the best power hitters in the history of the program. Ashley Holder is the best UCF women's golfer of the 21st century. Blaney is the best long distance runner in the history of UCF. All of those well-deserving. Mark Giacone, running back, 1990.
Where's he at on your top 10 list? Because he's still in the top 10 in a lot of categories.
So I have Smith ahead of him. I have Latavius Murray ahead of him, Marquette Smith, Elgin Davis, Willie English, Alex Haynes, who some people, Adam and among them, feels that Alex Haynes should be in. I agree. I think I would have put Alex Haynes in. Adrian Killings I have in as well over Giacone. But a lot of people would tell you that follow that 1990, 87 to 90 team that they don't have as much success without Mark Giacone. That was a Gene McDowell run the ball first type of team. So he gets in. My only thing is there's a lot of his teammates that got in, and yet he got overlooked. So that's a little weird for me. Ariel Scott, national champion, Trace, in track and field. Not claimed, earned, still not in. That needs to get fixed.
I think overall it's a good class, though. And
very strong class.
Well-attended ceremony before that Arizona game.
It'll be sold out for that ceremony. A lot of Kirk's jerks, I have a feeling, are going to be coming back that weekend. And remember, men's basketball opens against A&M that Monday, so that could be an extended big week for basketball from that standpoint. From there. All right. Big 12, speaking of basketball, they love their basketball, everybody. Football, Hey, Oklahoma State beat Arkansas in a weird double overtime game. Colorado got taken to the woodshed by Nebraska. Trace, your take from Big 12 2 weeks in.
Well, I would just say this. You mentioned the Oklahoma State win. It's still, they beat an SEC team head-to-head. Kansas State with a good comeback on the road against Tulane. Cincinnati drops their game. They should have beaten Pittsburgh. I think the surprise so far through 2 games, hey, who's at the top of the standings with Arizona? Arizona State off to a strong start. So I think those that said that might be a rough road game down the line for UCF are looking good right now. It's still a winnable Big 12 for UCF. Everybody's in it for the most part. I think it's a competitive league. I think you're going to see, as we talked about this TCU game, games going into the fourth quarter, last possession kind of games, week in and week out.
Dillingham, the head coach at Arizona State, I believe he had 60 players in the transfer portal. They could score. And I know we've talked about this before the season. That trip to Tempe, who knows what the kick time was going to be for that game. That's a tricky game for UCF there.
Yeah.
Dillingham seems to be turning that program around.
Making the TCU win even more important if you're going to drop the road game down the line.
Yeah. No doubt about that. That's huge. Arizona, we still don't know them, man. They kind of struggle with these teams defensively.
What about Cam Rising?
Got hurt, and they didn't score without him in the second half of their win against Baylor, which is a non-conference win. His status might decide the Big 12 race. I think if he stays up enough, they will win the Big 12 and be the playoff team. If he does not last the season, this league is wide open at that.
And can we say it? Colorado early season fraud, right?
I mean, you're absolutely right. And the concerning thing from a Colorado standpoint is their offense is struggling. Their defense has been mediocre. It's been better than last year. Their offense not clicking on all cylinders. That's a big concern. Looks like they could be pushed around.
All right, real quick on our draft. Adam gets into the win column. He had UCF over Sam Houston. And this week, you're back on the clock, Elo. You've got UCF beating TCU. So you're going to have in the first 3 weeks 2 of your games. So this is a big one for you.
UCF's got to be more physical team than TCU. I don't think TCU can be more physical enough. TCU has a younger quarterback. Can this defense, with your buddy, Ted Roof, was he happy with his defense, Trace?
He was not happy.
He was not happy. Put pressure on the TCU quarterback, force some turnovers, get some hurries, and you can win that game on the road. Be the more physical team. That's why you're here. You're right. This sets the tone. I got to give you credit. You said it. This game was a big one you circled back when the schedule came out.
Long time ago. Yeah.
This game will set the tone for the rest of the Big 12 season for both programs, honestly.
And it's interesting as we shift over talking about brand, how similar these programs are in the national landscape, Elo.
They are, and you look at it, I mean, UCF, TCU looking for respect. Oklahoma State, Utah is the marquee game, 4 o'clock on Fox. Why? Because Fox has Ohio State Marshall at big noon kick. What? That's true. It's going to happen. That's not good for the Big 12 that you're getting slighted for a mediocre game. I read some things where basically by contract they cannot put a Big Ten game Fox at 3:30 because CBS owns that slot. So that's why I guess they make the adjustment. So I not a good sign. Is anybody? Let me ask you this: in all serious, Trace, is anybody talking Big 12 football in general nationally? Because I don't see it. I don't see it. This is a big problem for both sides. And whoever
it's early. I don't.
It's early.
I think they're talking about the SEC and the Big Ten, and then they're talking about the Big 12. Right?
But would you agree?
That's the hierarchy.
2 programs are looking to get back up to national notoriety. TCU, the loser of this game, has a long climb to become talked about. Would you not agree with that?
Yeah, I would say that. So back on brand of the Big 12, what do you think about Oklahoma State, Utah, not in that big noon slot, Elo? Fox choosing Ohio State Marshall.
And it's not good for the Big 12 in general. I don't think, and the problem is TCU was a fluke. TCU was a fluke in that national title, and they embarrassed the conference. Georgia scored, 1,000 points in that game? You scored a touchdown in that game. I congratulated you on that, Trace. So TCU, I think, did a lot of harm to the Big 12. At least UCF, for example, is new. They kind of ruffled some feathers. TCU doesn't. But who else do you trust in the Big 12 for football brand there from a TV number standpoint? I don't know. We're going to find out this week what's going to happen there. UCF playing TCU on Fox. What does the viewership for that is? You would think the Oklahoma State, Utah get you some big numbers.
All right. As we transition to props, and before you make fun of me for last week's, I just want to keep our Randy Pittman Jr. Watch. He had 2 catches, Elo. He's averaging 1.5, a pace of 18.
He doubled,
which was better than the pace of 12 last week. All right, go ahead. Razz me. You did so online on last week's one involving KJ Jefferson.
Well, our good buddy Andrew Trylko had the over-under 19.5 pass attempts for KJ Jefferson.
I thought it'd be 24. I was way wrong.
Instead, it was 15? And you're like, and I remember I'm like remind him like, oh, we got plenty of football to go. And right a minute after you said that, he got pulled.
Yeah.
It's a win for me, though.
Yeah, that's one for you. Well, it's all in good fun. Are we keeping track of standings? Only if I win this week.
2-0 me. I am, at least for now. So here's the prop bet. UCF is on Fox against TCU. ABC's got Georgia versus Kentucky. CBS has got Colorado State. NBC has UCLA and Illinois. Of those 4 games on Broadcast Network going head-to-head at the same time, Trace, where will UCF TCU finish among those 4 games? And then I'm going to give you this over-under as well as a bonus in case we end up agreeing. The over-under, 2 million viewers.
Third ahead of UCLA, Illinois, 2.2 million.
I agree. I think it's third. I don't know. People love watching Dion in Colorado. They had 6 million for their blowout loss.
I think that one's going to be neck and neck with that Georgia game because of the Dion factor.
I agree. 100% agree with you. I think you're neck and neck with UCLA, Illinois. Who's the more competitive game? I'm going to go under slightly, 1.95 for UCF TCU, which, tough. We'll see. You got to prove yourself on the Braun here from a TV. By the way, keep an eye on those games. Those 2 games will impact the kick time of the Colorado game. A loss by UCF and or Connecticut probably takes them out of the whole Big Noon conversation. Might get that 3:30, 4 o'clock slot of thoughts.
Our look around Olympic sports, Elo. Hey, men's soccer. I don't know how they do the rankings, but they're up to 10th this week after a 5-1 win over UC Irvine. They scored a lot, especially in the second half. They do so without Luca Dorado, likely out for a couple more games at least because of a hamstring.
Gotta love respect. We don't have that problem in men's soccer. We moved up 7 spots for crushing UC Irvine. Very impressive.
It's at a low RPI, 100 and something RPI, so they're getting a lot of credit there.
But here's the cool thing. Even without Luca Dorado, you have other options offensively. Emmanuel Bond got to go. That big kid. Carlos Rojas, you covered 6'7". You spoke to him?
How about I asked Coach Calabrese, hey, how tall is that kid? He goes 6'7". If he can put it all together, what a force.
That's the thing. They got some other options offensively, which I'm concerned on the other end on women's soccer. They don't have Trace because they
terrible loss, Elo. They waste the Georgia win.
At least canceled it. It's not great. Here's the problem I'm more concerned about. They start Big 12 play this Thursday. In that South Florida loss, they had 11 shots as a team. 6 of them was by Chloe Netzel. Can't depend on Chloe Netzel to score every time. Somebody else has to step up and score on the women's team. Calabrese can, I think, afford a couple of weeks without Dorado. I think he has enough depth offensively to get by. Right now, I don't know if women's soccer does. That, to me, is going to determine the women's soccer season. Can somebody else, other than Chloe Netzel, provide offense for that team?
And volleyball, Elo, 4-0, but they've struggled. They had 2 sweeps over Stetson and North Carolina Wilmington, but they're sort of struggling sweeps, don't you think? I mean, they were decisive blowout sweeps.
Yeah, Stetson pushed them a little bit. I mean, they won. They're 4-0. They're under the radar. They go to Tallahassee this weekend. We're going to learn something about them this weekend when they go to Florida State, ranked 21st in the country. Who is going to be the main players there? I think they're trying to do more of a balanced offense. Ava Armour, I think, to me, has to take that next step. Is it this year or next year? I don't know. I think there's some questions defensively in the middle. They're trying some different things. It's early. They haven't had the toughest of schedules. Like football, we'll start getting some answers, though, this weekend, especially when they play Florida State.
All right, time to bring back in Adam. What did we get right? What did we get wrong? Educate us, Adam.
All right, I'll do just that, gentlemen. You talked about what UCF's going to do against TCU. They are number 1 in the nation, 419 rushing yards per game. I have a feeling they're going to run the football. KJ's stat line against Sam Houston, 12 of 15 for 169 in the air, 50 yards on the ground. RJ Harvey is number 8 in the nation right now in rushing yards, number 2 in touchdowns. Rocket Man, I have an official update. This courtesy of Brandon Helwig of UCFsports.com. First, there was an ad read, then an Excalibur video clip played, then the band played something, and then the intro to Thunderstruck. So that was the replacement for Elton John's Rocket Man. Seems like a winner to me. And Elo, as of May, Arizona State had 41 players in the transfer portal. I don't know if anyone entered after that. 41 for Arizona State. And fun fact, Colorado State, Trace, you should know this. First time they're playing that game at Fort Collins in a handful of years. Typically played either a neutral site or it's been in Boulder. First time at the new stadium in Colorado State. Things could get weird, friends.
That's true. All right, one more thing before we go, Elo. BetArizona.com out with its list of Big 12 teams offering the best betting experience, factoring in 2023 records, strength of schedule, status of legal betting on college football, and AP polls. UCF coming in 7th of 10 eligible schools. Arizona, number 1. Look for new episodes midweek.
How many
every
betting
week.
sites do you have?
What now?
How many betting sites you got?
I don't know. I get all these emails from betting sites. So it makes for great ways to end the show. Look for new episodes midweek every week on the Sons of UCF YouTube channel. Drops later wherever you get your downloadable audio content. For Adam Eaton, Eric Lopez, I'm Trace Trylko. Thank you, everyone, for watching this week's Around the Kingdom.